How's it going, guys? This is Trey Bell, and this is Arcane Frequencies. And today, I'm in my room. Uh, I'm just gonna be talking to you guys because one, I don't think I've ever done any official video of telling you like who the fuck I am. I just came on this YouTube platform just talking about very niche music genres and also just posting my own music and random like videos of performances, which has been working so far. Thank you guys for all the support. I'm at about 326 subscribers in a year, and like, about 4 or 5 months. That's most people tell me that's a pretty good feat, and I feel like I like the formats that I'm doing. I like taking videos of full performances. I do also like, sharing a little bit of my music and also just sharing music that I find interesting, kind of like in the basic music review format. But for a while, I feel it, but I'll be honest, like, yeah, I don't really post a lot when it comes to like, I'll post a few videos and then it's like you guys won't hear from me for 2 months. One, I work a lot. Two, I do other things other than YouTube. I make a lot of art and a lot of music, and also just research about a lot of nerdy subject matters, whether it's like philosophy, the occult, existentialism, what existence is, which is pretty much existentialism. Don't know why I just resaid that, but yeah, I don't know. I do a lot of other stuff outside of like my individual pockets of creative outputs. So I feel like, and I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm like probably just doing a different format for a bit, just see how it works, and being more freer instead of like having this specific like album I'm about to analyze very thoroughly. I still will continue to do that, but like it's just like we already have a lot of people who do that type of stuff, and like even though I feel like I can still have my own spin on it, I feel like I have a lot of other things I can offer on a YouTube platform, and one of them is just talking. I also like doing podcasts. Like for example, if I've said in my other videos, but I'll say it again, I do a podcast with my friend Lucas Vlatkos. Um, and he go on Spotify and search up the Decaf Recap, and we kind of just talk about a lot of like different subject matters. Talked about art, Ukraine, uh, things, politics, society. Like me and him talk about a lot of politics, and honestly, I've always kind of stayed away from talking about politics as a person in general, because like I'm not really trying to like create divisive siding on any platform. I really don't care about that type of stuff, but I do feel like it's still important to talk about it on an objective level if possible. So if you're curious about like the things I'm saying in there, you can go there. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, today I'm just in my room, and I kind of just want to talk to you guys about music and a few other subject matters. Going to talk to you about art and just kind of who I am to a degree, what made me, and like why I even decided to do this very particular channel that I'm still trying to make heads and tails out of. Like I go through my videos every day and just be like, wow, concerts, random music review, another concert, a music video for myself, another concert. I'm like, what the fuck is this channel? So I feel like this is a good way to just like make a solidified explanation of like who I am, what I think I'm doing, and hopefully where it's going. Because apparently it's working. People like what I'm putting out there. Uh, uh, 300 plus subscribers in a year and a few months. That's a pretty good feat and still counting. So, I feel like at this point in this stage, it's probably better just to have more engagement. And now that the world is not technically back to normal, but like at a more stable place, uh, I feel like we need just more freeing content. And that's what I want to provide. So, and also, unfortunately, I'm also in my room because I caught the Rona. Yep, I got that Roni. I'm gonna call it the Roni because YouTube be, you know, striking people who say the actual word nowadays. It is what it is, but I got that Roni, the macaroni. I got the macaroni, guys, and it sucked. I thought it was a regular cold. Like the last 2 days, I've been in my bed rolling back around, profusely sweating, and in my head, I'm still thinking like, yeah, it's just a regular cold. My body's aching. My fingertips are like literally throbbing. I'm like, nope, it's just a cold. I think it's the Roni. I think it's the macaroni a little bit. But I'm like, it can't be the macaroni. My mom got like a basic cold, so I most likely got it from her. And then a few days later, as I'm getting better, she tells me like, you may got the macaroni. And I'm like, wait. And then I looked up the symptoms because I hadn't looked at them in a while because it felt like, the Roni wasn't overtly a thing that much anymore. Everyone stopped caring about it. And I was like, oh dang, yeah, I probably got the macaroni. And then I ended up actually doing a at home test. Yeah, it was positive. I'm like, oh dang, oh, I gotta stay in my room. Right now my throat's still kind of sore. Been hacking up a lot of mucus the past few days. Today has been a little bit less, but you know, just gotta get it out of you. And I probably still might be contagious, so don't want to get my grandma sick. So yeah, that is the macaroni. And I'm about to drink some water with lime in it. Not an actual lime, just lime juice. All right. Now that we got all the weird bantering out of the way, let's just get back to the basics. Who am I? For people who are wondering, who've recently or been subscribed to this channel, my name is Trey Bell, Treyon Bell, whatever you want to call me. I am an artist. I have a website that I also link, and I make visual arts. I went to Minneapolis College of Art and Design for 4 years, from 2014 to 2018. I am a music addict. I love music. I've been very big into music since I was like 10 years. I mean, pretty much most of my life, but specifically at 10 years old. Mainly because of this band, the Gorillaz right here. This is the band that pretty much made me who I am. And to this day, Demon Days is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's pretty much my first album. It's the first album that I had ever owned. I think my grandma bought it for me, or I forgot exactly how. Yeah, I think my grandma bought it for me or something like that. Well, she bought it for me, but I think she bought the first Gorillaz album, which was just a self-titled album, and I think I can't. Either way, I had in possession both the Gorillaz albums, the self-titled and Demon Days, and that was pretty much my adventure into understanding the world of music. And way back in those days, that was like way back in 2005. So the way that I got into the Gorillaz was pretty much for anyone who's like, I'm 27, so anyone who grew up slightly like in the 90s, specifically in like the 2000s era, anyone remember it wasn't Kids Bop, but like those like compilation album, like That's What's Hot. I think that's what it was called. That's What's Hot or something like that. Dang, I forgot exactly what it's called, but like they just had it's pretty much a compilation CD that they put on commercials to show you all the greatest hits that were happening during that time period. Which, now that I think about it, that was pretty much like a very old way of making like a Spotify playlist of like the popular music of that time. That's weird. But yeah, it's like That's What's Hot, like 26, or like I forgot exactly what number it was, but I remember they were just showcasing all of these like popular songs on TV with their music videos, and I end up seeing like this creepy dude right here, 2D, without glasses. He just has like blacked out like eye sockets, And I remember, and like as a kid, like I loved cartoons. Like I grew up on like watching nothing but Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, like on a daily basis. So I'm just like, what's that? Like that's an interesting music video. And plus, I like what the music was, and also just like the style of Jamie Hewlett's like art at the time. Even though I didn't know who the artist was for like years, I was just like, I just like that art style. I was like, wow, that's I like that. And every time like that, I remember like as a child, every time like the commercial came on for uh, "That's What's Hot," whatever number it was at that time, I'm just like I always was waiting for like when the Gorillaz was gonna come on because like I was just so enamored by just the art style, and so and ironically, the Gorillaz is also the way that I started using the internet because for anyone who's like me, like I'm technically like a millennial, kind of like at the latter end. I was born in 1995. I think the cutoff is like 1996, so like I'm like at the latter end of being a millennial pretty much. And so I remember growing up like without the internet. The internet was there, but like I didn't really use it. It was just something that like I saw my parents use or my mom use, and it was just a computer. And sometimes I would play like computer games if I was like bored of like playing regular games off my PlayStation. I just like, let me try a computer game. It wasn't like they were better. It was just different. I just enjoyed the fact that like I was playing games off of a different software for some reason as a kid. I don't know. I was a very habitual kid, but either way, um, other than using the computer for that, that's like when I started actually learning how to like research stuff. And I guess like once I went on the internet, because I was so hell bent on trying to figure out like who this band was, because I'm like the Gorillaz. What is this music video? I did not know how to search anything. I used to like literally just like type in what is the Gorillaz music video. Sometimes I would type it in all caps just to show that I'm serious, thinking that it would actually work. And this is before Google even existed, or I think it had just started. But I was using some basic ass like search engine way back in like the mid 2000s, and had no idea what the internet was. All I know, like I didn't even take in the fact that I'm like using the internet. All I know is like I just want to know what the Gorillaz are. And I'm like, Gorillaz, what's this music video? And like, it would take me hours, or like at least what I thought was hours. It would just take me a long time as like a 10-year-old kid trying to navigate a very early form of the internet, just trying to find this one specific music video. And so I would just like go through all the different like web searches. And back in the day, like internet was slow as fuck, as anyone who is in my age category knows that it was a slow ass time period. It was nothing like today. And I remember just being like, okay, finally found it. I finally found like a website that was showcasing the music video. And then so of course, this being an old time period, you can't just click on the video and have it just start playing. It has to buffer. And I remember seeing that word for the first time, buffering. And I'm like, buffer? And it would even like show me like how long it would take before like it was finished. It'd be like 1% done, 2% done. I don't even think it said that. I just knew that like it would just say taking time buffering. And back in these days, it's like if like I had to wait for something, and like during that time period, like people had longer attention spans. Even though like I was like annoyed that I had to wait this long, but I was so dedicated to figure out this music video because it's like I have nothing else better to do as a 10-year-old child. I want to see this thing on TV and see it officially for myself, and so I pretty much will probably go into a different room, start playing with my toys, and like wait for it to like fully process. And then I forgot exactly how it would process, but like all I know is that like once like it will officially, like I probably click it a few times to see if it will start working, and then once it started working, like I would literally stay on that same web page for hours repeating the music video for Feel Good Inc. because like I'm like, if I click off this web page, it's gonna take another hour for it to buffer. So I would literally just be nerding out to one music video, just being like, well, first, I'm just happy at the fact that I finally found the music video that I've been looking for all this time that I've seen on TV, and it's there. It's finally there. And yeah, I would just replay Feel Good Inc. on a daily basis. And then I remember when I first got my first MP3 player. Um, Hello?
Hey, you want some chocolate?
Sure.
Where the container is?
What?
The top, go on that container you had.
Just throw it to me.
Where the plate is?
Go. I put it downstairs.
It is? Oh.
Yeah. Don't get sick. My grandma just gave me some candy, guys. I love her. But yeah, so I remember just like, what was I saying? Dang it. Water does the body good. Water does the body good, guys. Probably should just put it right here. Have it closer to me. But yeah. Oh yeah, MP3. And so before the iPod days, I remember having an MP3 player, a little black MP3 player that I primarily only had nothing but Gorillaz music on there. It was the first album and the second album, because that's literally all that there was at the time period when it came to the Gorillaz. They only had 2 albums out at the time period. And I had a bunch of other music that was already pre-stored on the MP3 player that I didn't listen to at all. But I remember like every single song on the Gorillaz, like that I had of the Gorillaz, it's like they were all intermixed. So it's like one song would be off of the first album, and then the next song would be off of like the second album. And so it wasn't like sequenced right, but like I didn't care. I just kept listening to all of them, just like in that order. I think that's how I operated. But like either way, I was just like, I just listened to that, like the Gorillaz for like from like 2005 all the way to like 2007, and it was just nothing but Gorillaz. So like I indulged in both those albums on a consistent basis. And then once like I got out of my Gorillaz phase, like that's like when like hip hop started becoming more of a thing for my life. And then Soulja Boy came out with Crank That and stuff like that. And like that's actually when YouTube started becoming more of a sensationalized thing. And being in like at this point, I had already figured out what YouTube was, because like once because I still was looking up Gorillaz on a daily basis because I was just so addicted to the Feel Good Inc. Music video. And then I remember one day, I remember I discovered what Google was, and I was like, oh, this seems like a more efficient search engine, because if it gave me better results than I could remember that other basic ass like internet engine gave me, internet search engine gave me, I guess. And then I discovered this little thing called YouTube. I was like, music video for Feel Good Inc. YouTube. I wondered what this is, and then I clicked it, and I was like, oh wow, that was much faster than like it usually is. And then that's when I realized, wait a minute, the Gorillaz have more music videos? And to this day, that's always what I thought as a child. I'm like, I remember the first music video outside of Feel Good Inc. that I remember watching was 4/5 off of their first album, their self-titled album. And it was literally just like the sketch ideas for the music video. And like as a child, like I was able to comprehend that for some reason. But I was like, so this is like a music video that like never really was finished, but they turned it into a music video. The only thing I really just took away from it was like Murdoch accidentally committed suicide trying to get to some girls on some big ass platform that they were like performing on with his fucking pants down, and his like junk was like all out. And like at that time, like again, I'm a child, so like seeing stuff like that, especially coming from a cartoon, was pretty intense for me. It was just, it made me like it's just, and also I grew up Christian too, so like seeing stuff like that felt like I'm like, oh no, this is naughty. I still watch that today and just still feel the same way. I'm like, hey, this is a weird ass music video. Like the dude was so fucking horny. He literally tried jumping to another big ass stage with like hot chicks and mask or whatever. And it's funny because I think they actually some fan reanimated the actual video. So like if you go on, if you search that music video, 4/5 or something, uh, there's a fully animated version of it, like all colored in the same style as like the sketch. And I'm like, oh, nice. It's good to see this in like a more realized form. But yeah, I remember that was like my discovery of YouTube, and that's pretty much how I got into YouTube culture. So I've literally been on this platform since the get go, from the beginning, and I've been on YouTube probably almost every single day of my life since I was probably like around 10 or 11. So I know I've seen all the different changes that has happened with this platform, and for better or for worse. Sadly, seems like for worse sometimes, but it's just some pretty dope stuff always happening on YouTube. It just doesn't feel as free as it used to be. But yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much like my music love. That was my first music love, was seeing the Gorillaz, and then after that, um, I think, oh yeah, like, so back to like how I got into hip hop when it came to like, being on YouTube and seeing things go viral. So like when Soldier Boy came out with like Crank That, that's like when I got more in tune with my hip hop side, because I was always listening to music. Like my mom always played like nothing but like hip hop and R&B, primarily R&B and stuff like that in the car. So like I grew up on listening to like a lot of hip hop, but only through the gauges of like the adults in my life when I was a kid. And but listening to music like solely for myself, I that's it started happening around the ages of 10 to 11 to 12. That's like when I started really getting deep into it. And even though I was aware there was like hit songs, like I knew I was kind of different from the get-go, because I was always really into discographies. Like once I discovered the concept of what an album was, like even though I knew what an album was, of course I had like Demon Days and all the Gorilla albums, for some reason still didn't register in my head. Like there were certain artists who, like, even though they were popular for one song, they still had albums that came out that had those songs on it. So like I remember listening to like Soulja Boy's album all the time, all the way through, even though like I didn't care for every single song, but I appreciated the fact like, oh wait, there's other songs other than the hit song Crank That. And that was always fascinating to me. And that's how I became like got into the full discography of stuff. Like I remember being a kid, always on the bus, everyone would be listening to their MP3s, and then eventually iPods. And once people got to the iPod era, uh, I remember like I don't think I really even had like, oh yeah, I had an MP3 player, but I wasn't allowed to listen to censored version, like uncensored music. So I remember always like asking friends if they could like let me listen to their music. And it was like I was like, hey, like, can I get a little bit of hit of that? Like, it's like I'm not getting the real thing. Like, I need to hear like the actual words. So I've always asked my friends who had the dirty versions of stuff. So like, from Lil Wayne to Millie or Lollipop, and just to Young Jock or any hip hop like record that came out, I was always hearing it on like on the radio, but it was always the clean version. But when I got the chance to hear the dirty version, it was like spectacular to me. I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And so, yeah, and my music course pretty much just would continue just like trying to always like, figure out how can I like scam the dirty version, or how can like I figure out how to listen to uncensored music, whether it was from Eminem or Lil Wayne or this rapper or that rapper. And then eventually, like, technology keeps advancing and stuff like that, and then we get the PSPs, and anyone remembers those. And around this time period, I think Wi-Fi started becoming a thing. And before you could get Wi-Fi on your phone, like you just could only get Wi-Fi like on a PSP or devices that were like that. I guess, at least from what I know, I can't fully remember. I think I don't know. I wasn't overtly. I was a kid, so I was like, I'm like, all right, I want to be able to find like dirty music on my PSP, and also uh, not safe for work images on my PSP. That's all I ever like use my PSP for. And of course, I still play video games on my PSP. But like most of the kids my age and anyone who knows me, like you know what we were doing in our rooms, just like looking up websites that were naughty, and also just like figuring out how to download like naughty music. Pretty much that's all we really did as kids. Go to school and figure out how to try to be adults. Yeah, now I don't want to be adult. This shit sucks. Either way, but yeah, that was pretty much like my upbringing. Like I just was really into me. I was just really obsessive about stuff. Like that's how I operate. I operate off of obsession. So especially when it comes to things that are different, new, and have a certain type of novelty to them, I always want to like understand them. So it doesn't matter if it's music, art, those are my main facets. But even philosophy, different spiritual practices, just different ways of understanding like the world, and like uh, just mainly esoteric stuff at this point in my life. I was always looking for like, what's that new thing? What's like, it's like you always want something different. Then different starts becoming like, all right, now I want something weird, because like I gotta keep it interesting. Then goes from weird, at least what I perceived as weird, and then avant-garde to experimental to now where it's like with how I started this channel. Anyone who started on this channel with me, that I started like putting out videos about like current 93 neo folk experimental stuff. Like finally I've gotten to the most extreme form of music that I could find, which is industrial experimental neo folk music. And that's pretty much how the journey started. But like again, I'm still very eclectic in all my sounds. Like I love that stuff, but at the same time I still love listening to like regular uh contemporary stuff, regular mainstream stuff. I like everything. I like a lot of things, guys. And so I never really stuck with one thing, but like my heart does stay in certain places more often than others. And I feel like the places that are more niche like are always interesting, because like they're not bogged down by hype. It's just like something to you have to digest. And that's why I would say I base this channel off of like more of the obscure sides of music. And even when you think about the Gorillaz, like now I actually think about it, yeah, like for their time and like how popular they were, at least like with their hit songs, like they're a pretty weird out there band. And honestly, a lot of the music at the time period made more sense in this day and age. And of course, like they're still coming out with music. I think they're coming out with a new album, like a cult album or something. I forgot what it was officially called. I think it has the word cult in it or something. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to listen to that. And I'll be honest, as much as I love Gorillaz, like they are my favorite band to this day. I will admit, I have to be in the mood to listen to them. I really have not fully listened to the Music Box album. Uh, I've listened to some of it. It's nice. I like it. But the thing about Gorillaz is that like they have so like Damon Albarn just collaborates with so many different people and has so many different styles. Like I feel like I have to like fully be able to digest like listening to a whole array of different music. Like even when I was listening to the Gorillaz, like it was always hard for me to comprehend like what type of band am I listening to? They don't have one particular sound. They got hip hop, country, indie, like electronic, like just like singer songwriter, folk. Like it was a mixture of so many different things that like I was like it was hard for me to comprehend like what am I listening to. It's just like it's one thing here, you got an MF Doom verse here, you got this here. It's like what in the world is this? So it was like I felt like it was always like a big bite to chew when it came to like listening to that band, and it is still kind of to this day. So like even though if I'm not fully up to date with all their music, it's not because I don't dislike them. It's just like, and other people who like the Gorillaz agree with me on this. It's like I just have to be in the mood. But they created my childhood. They were the only band that I used to love drawing because I'm like, dude, they're a cartoon band. But other than that, yeah. So as I continue, so most of my music history, I get into hip hop very intensely around like my junior high school years, and then once I get into high school, kind of reverted back to listening to the Gorillaz a little bit more. And then at this time period, Pandora started becoming a thing, and then streaming services started rising. So it was first Pandora, then later Spotify. But Pandora was like the game changer for me because once I started listening to the Gorillaz again, I put them in the like just search engine for Pandora, and like they just started playing the radio off based off of Gorilla songs, and that's how I got into indie music, like indie alternative music. So like bands like MGMT, Arcade Fire, Starfucker, uh, Fiona Applewhite. Fiona Apple. I don't know why I just said Fiona Applewhite, like she's in a fucking cult or something. Oh, Fiona Applewhite, part of the Heaven's Gate cult. Her music will make you commit suicide. I'm just joking, but either way, yeah, all those like yeah, just all those like indie alternative bands that had been around at that time period and started actually becoming popular. Oh yeah, Monsters and Men, of course Mumford and Sons, just like any of those bands, like oh yeah, and also specifically like what made me officially love indie music was what's the band Passion Pit. Yeah, Passion Pit was the first indie band that like allowed me to accept the fact that I liked indie music. Cause like I'll be honest, like being someone who's always been highly into like rap music, also being African American, there's always that weird stigma. It's like oh you should only listen to hip hop, that's white people music and shit like that, which is total bullshit in my opinion. And this point in my life, I was like, fuck that shit. Like, I'm gonna listen whatever fuck I want to, and I just had an intense appreciation for like the indie hipster type of sound that we called it at the time period. Because I'm just like I'm connecting to this so hard, like honestly, much harder than I was like hip hop at the time, and I still was listening to hip hop. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like I started having a different appreciation of like, wait a minute, I don't just have to stick with one genre, and like I can literally explore all these different forms of music, and then eventually music just started to like merge with each other, and you have genres like colliding with other genres, and even though that was already happening, it wasn't happening to the degree that I at least assume it was. I don't know, maybe I was still young, so like my perception of what I thought was new probably was not really new. It's just like revamped. But again, you still had the internet, which was a big game changer and like allowed there to be a more fluidness in like discovering these types of genres that you probably never would have discovered, because like as a kid, like I wasn't going to record stores. I didn't even know record stores even existed at the time period. I just like was like, there's music, you can buy CDs, and then but you can also download stuff off the internet. And so I'm just like, all right, just the internet is the new form of how to get into music. So we still use CDs, and if anything, it's just like, oh, you can download music and put it on a CD, and like make your own albums and stuff like that. And I remember you always usually like making people buy like I make bootleg copies of mixtapes. If people didn't know how to download mixtapes off of like Dat Piff or some shit like that, I would always just make my own like little like paper CD, like they actually like have like the actual CD paper, even like print out the album cover, put it in the sleeve, and make my own bootleg CDs and like sell it to people at school. That's how I made money sometimes. It's the good old days. But either way, this was the way that I started getting really into you know, showing my appreciation and obsession for music. And by the time like once like I started getting more fluid in the internet and just discovering all these different genres through Pandora, and just realizing like there's so much music out there. I literally just spent most of my high school career just indulging in music by myself. Like, cause no one was like, I didn't have any friend groups. I was kind of like an introverted loner type of kid. I mean, I had friends. People liked me, but at the same time, I kind of had like, I was at a certain distance from like certain people, kind of slightly socially awkward or just a little over hyperactive sometimes. So I don't know. My childhood was very particular, where it's just like it's like I was either very social or just very not social. But most of the times, I was just to myself, like headphones on, listening to music in my bed every single day. So it's just like I remember back in the day, I would always like listen to music, and by discovering it through Pandora, then finding it off of the iTunes store. And I'm like, if I like the song off of Pandora, let me see if I can actually get into this band for real. And then I was still and this is back then when I still was buying like full album, like MP3 albums off of iTunes store, because that's what I would do if I like the band. So like before like streaming became very efficient, because I don't think Spotify fully existed at the time period. Yeah, Spotify had not existed, so iTunes was still the main way to like use stuff. And I'm and I just remember like anytime I like the song, I'm like, all right, I like this song, I'm gonna buy this album. And I remember like buying like full albums, like Group Blub's first album, and just being like, "Yeah, this is a good decision." And then of Monsters and Men, and then of course like at that time period, of course I'm still into hip hop, but then I realized like hip hop is starting to change a bit, fusing stuff, and you got like Tyler the Creator, Odd Future and shit like that, and then Goblin had came out, and I remember like listening to that, just being like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Now, honestly, like that's like when music started becoming more. I started fitting me more because I still loved hip hop, but I also loved the indie sound. And so so artists is like Tyler the Creator and just Odd Future as a whole, Kid Cudi specifically because he was a good mixture of indie and rap, and then of course like the late great Mac Miller, like those were all like alternative hip hop artists that like I was really into, that like you just that at the time period when it came to rap music, they kind of were like somewhat outcast to a degree. They weren't really fully accepted within the hip hop realm. And also, and I know it's going to sound weird to say this now because of how big he is to this day, but like even back then, artists like Drake were kind of like shunned from the hip hop community because he was like the soft boy rapper. Like Drake was a big innovator of like making like, I would say at the time, what you would consider like emo rap music, even though like now that's what's popular nowadays. But at a certain point, like Drake was the underdog, and people picked on him because he was, the soft boy rapper. Now people just pick on him for a whole different reason, and it's kind of understandable. But still like Drake, but it's just like Drake then was highly different from Drake now. That's all I'm saying. So like when I mention Drake, don't think of Drake, as he is, as Champagne Poppy. Think of Drake as someone who literally had just like got signed to Young Money, came off of Degrassi, and everyone knew him as like the kid on Degrassi who was in a wheelchair. So like he was getting dogged on for a lot of different reasons before he hit the mid 2015s, and then started getting dogged on for completely different reasons. And yeah, and then, so artists like those, like they were making like big changes, and not to say they were the first ones to do it, what they were the most effective in doing it at that time period when it came to rap music. So it was just nice to see a good merger of like rap music and other forms of like genres combining together. And I also would say like the biggest person who, of course, someone who also gets a lot of hate for better or for worse in this day and age, but Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that was a big game changer. And that's actually when I started listening to Kanye more. Of course, I knew who Kanye was, but like I was always told not to listen to Kanye because my parents, for whatever, well, even my mom denies that she told me like, don't listen to Kanye. Like, no, mom, you told me not to listen to Kanye. But I decided I'm like, I'm gonna listen to Kanye. And like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was the first Kanye album I ever fully listened to. One of the most beautiful albums to this date. I'm actually looking at the vinyl I got for it right now. But yeah, it's so it was just there was just so much like during the early 2010s, like there was so much innovativeness that was happening with music and technology as a whole, and just like the creative arts. Like it was a very particular time period that it's just like, we're never gonna get that time back because things were so new, and there was already a system that kind of was being broken down, but then learning how to like merge with like the internet. And now it's like we continue, and then it's just like, well, we go through all the different phases of music where it's just like, all right, we're gonna combine this genre with that genre. We get the SoundCloud genre. We get, things like grunge is coming back. This is coming back. Post something, post this, and it's just there was. And for me as a music head, I wanted to know it all. I had all my different phases. Like I said with grunge, like I had like when I was in high school, I had my Nirvana phase. So like for a good year or so, I was like listening to nothing but Nirvana. I was listening to nothing to the Beatles. I just had all my phases, like most teenagers would have, like if like they're musically inclined, and I'm just like, and of course, like early 2010s, also discovered the one and only Melon, the needle drop, which is, I mean, whether you like Anthony Fantano or not, like he is the reason like I got even more into like trying to understand music. Because like the first time I watched like a needle drop review, um, ironically, it's actually funny. It was actually not really that amazing of an review, and it was for Kid Cudi's "Man on the Moon 2" album, which I was in love with at that time. And I remember like looking that album up, probably just to look at a music video or something like that. And I remember just seeing like this bald white dude. I can't remember if he was bald, but like it was just like some dude with glasses, and I was just like, wait, a music review, and, and this is back in the old Neil Drop days, back when he just had like a burgundy black background or something like that, and the resolution of his camera wasn't amazing. It was probably the quality of like this camera right here actually, but yeah, I remember just like watching the music, like the review that he was doing, and I'm pretty sure he gave it a 5 or something. And I remember him like his criticism about it was that like he felt like he was like crying or complaining about stuff that didn't seem like he needed to complain about. And even then, like I was like, I totally disagreed with Anthony at the time. So honestly, my first needle drop like video was something I disagreed with Anthony on, but like I didn't really it didn't make me dislike him. It just made me like, huh, well, I don't agree with you, but I appreciate that you actually analyze this album, because I didn't really think about that being a thing. It's just like you listen to music and then possibly talk about what you liked with it with your friends, or like you just listen to it with your friends, but like actually analyzing music was something that was new to me. So like I, to this day, like whether you hate the melon or not, I thank him for my life, for like allowing me to look at music differently and be able to like actually analyze things as I listen to it. Still enjoy it, but analyze it and like have my own opinion about it. And ever since then, I have like any video that I'm like any album that I'm interested in, and if he happens to review it, of course I'm gonna review it. And also, like, if it wasn't for the needle drop, I wouldn't discover Death Grips. And Death Grips is one of my favorite bands, as I've already said on this channel multiple times. Death Grips. And yeah, I have not done that Death Grips review. I still plan on doing it. I am just highly procrastinating on it. But I do try to plan on making a video about kind of Death Grips' career in the beginning. Like how I got into them, And I'll probably even give you like a brief like introduction of that too in this video because I'm just shooting the shit right now, but don't really have anything overtly planned. I'm just kind of going at this like basic podcast style. But yeah, I remember when I first saw like the, and actually this kind of does perfectly ties in with what I was talking about, like how music was changing. If anything, Death Grips is the antithesis for me of like how much different genres you can fuse into like one like group. And I think Death Grips is the purest definition of like everything in one. It's rock, hip hop, experimental, industrial, and whatever have it, electronic. It at the time, because like I was so used to like there being very specific genres and also being a hip hop lover, like having hip hop being able to be expanded in those terms, along with like how also Kanye was doing it, but on like a bigger mainstream level. Like it was just nice for me to be able to appreciate these forms of music that I think, you know, I wasn't able to appreciate because like being someone who's into hip hop is just like it's like is hip hop supposed to be fused with all this stuff? That's always the question. Even to this day, like old heads and stuff like that would be like this isn't traditional hip hop. It's just like I mean like yeah sure there's definitely stuff that kind of deviates away from like what we call so-called hip hop. At the same time, like music is music, and if people are smart enough, they'll figure out a way to like combine them perfectly together. And Death Grips was that one for me. Ex-Military to this day is still one of my. If anything, I can't even say if I have a top 10 favorite albums. I just have albums that have changed my life, and Death Grips is definitely high up there. Ex-Military, that well technically it was a mixtape, but just music project at this point in time. I feel like the concept of mixtapes and albums are kind of obsolete. But yeah, overall, yeah, ex-military, that project really showed me like where music can really go. And I think that's like officially when like my love for music got more intense. Not to say it wasn't already intense, but when you have a band that's very highly connected through the internet, and you can only get a band like Death Grips through like internet culture, because a lot of like what they did was basing themselves off of memes, very weird, you know, being present in very weird crevices of the internet, and of course with most of their fan base probably being redditors and like at the time probably tumblers and shit like that, and bloggers. It's just like Death Grips was the perfect band for the internet at that time period. And they're literally their own rabbit hole in one. And so being able to like appreciate this band was like a way for me to like calculate how to appreciate other forms of music, and even how to listen to other forms of music, especially knowing that like a lot of Death Grips music and a lot of like music in general that heavily samples older music, like you start appreciating like how a lot of the human history of like how we took in from other forms of like styles and arts can still come together but in a different form. I feel like for bands who are able to do that perfectly or do that to a very interesting way, it made you always like kind of go back and look at like, all right, so like they sampled this band, let me see what this band actually sounds like. And and that's how I got into like other bands, or like that's how I like started appreciating like older bands more, because it's just like everything is just a rehashment of like something that's already existed. So I feel like with music as a whole, like it's one of the most important things you can ever have in your whole entire life. Like people who don't like music, not to judge, but it's just like it's kind of hard to like, dang, it's like how do you not like music, or at least not have. I don't even care if like you like music that I don't like, or you like just like some form of music, like because like I feel like the human experience, like our DNA, like everything in this world, I forget exactly what it's called, but like every molecule or something or frequency has like a tone, and our bodies are all made up of all these tones. and those tones can come in all the different forms that you can hear in musical notes. So it's like we literally are music. So if anything, it's the best way to express ourselves in our human experience. And I feel like if people had a better understanding of that, like people would take different approaches of how they would express themselves through music or just through any form of art. Because especially in this day and age where it's just like not to say life hasn't always been compromised by the machine or contemporary society. Everything is always going to be like watered down to a degree, but I don't know. I feel like if we have the tools for ourselves to not even have to rely on like an outer source to create like a world for ourselves, I feel like that's what most people need. Like use the advantage that you can have, like buy a laptop for a good price to express yourself. Get an Adobe Suite. Or find a way to get it for free, or Photoshop, whatever. It's just like figure out a way to express yourself, because like and like, you only have one life, man. Like use the tools that you have to make your mark on this world. You don't I don't even think things always have to even be overtly about like a legacy that much. If you still want to have a legacy, but like know that like your existence is what the legacy is. And people are like, it's gonna happen either way. You just gotta make sure that like whatever you do in your life, like with how much time you have on this world, make sure that you're doing something that's like putting output. Like consume less and produce more. That's kind of my philosophy for life, especially as an artist, because I feel like living in a consumeristic society, a capitalistic society, everything is about consumption, and it's like literally leading us to our death, bro. No, it's like we're in a day and age where people are literally like we don't have to even worry about dying from famine or high diseases and or like diseases and plagues or wars anymore. Like we still do, but we have it more under control to a degree where it's like now it's like we can choose who doesn't get food. We can choose how we suffer. And it's just like and we're born into this society where it's just like we have so much, like people can just literally just die from like literally like committing can't say the word. Apparently, you can't say that word either on YouTube. But people can literally off themselves in this day and age because they feel like they don't have any purpose. And if that's a thing, if we have everything, then like, what really is the point of like human life? So it's just like we have to have a purpose. So it's just like yeah, life doesn't seem like it has an extrinsic like a particular purpose like that's given to you. Like you're going off of what everyone says, but like make that purpose. Life is like I know it's a cliche, but like if it's a blank canvas, put something on it. You know, is you don't like you be the creator. Like, and I'm speaking specifically for people of this generation because like that's the problem that I'm seeing, especially like that, not even just this generation, just people in general. When I go to work, when I go outside, it's just like I can tell like the world is either artificially happy or but deep or just very very depressed because it's like all their dreams and like goals in life are not being accomplished or and like they don't know what their purpose is, and it's sad. I'm not where I want to be. I'm still at my parents' place. I fucked up in life and I didn't you know do that well like on my own, but like hey, I'm happy like to have them and like save up money. But at the same time, I'm like I still got to do stuff. I still got to like I got to make money, put some type of output and make it work for me. And like honestly, that's why I'm glad that I love music, and music has always been that drive for me to like express myself through, whether it's through making music or just making art. And like if I'm making art, I'm obviously listening to music. So any creative output, like j- find some, like you don't even have to be an artist like me, just find something, a hobby that like will make you enjoy life. Because like if you already know that like you have a, a limited amount of time on this earth, at most probably like 80 years if best, you know make that count. Yes, death is scary, life as a whole is scary, it's terrifying, it's suffering. A lot of this shit sucks, but like, you know, use that as an asset to like, sing instead of seeing it as a negative, like overcome it. Don't feel fulfilled. Like I think what we really need to change is like our idea of like fulfillment. It's like, yeah, sure, it's good to feel fulfilled in certain senses where, especially when you're younger, you feel like you're not able to attain something because like you're not mature enough to get there. But like overall, what that fulfillment really is like you overcoming certain things that like have been bogging you down. And so like the more that you make these accomplishment and you overcome like these hard trials that life puts you through, you know make sure that like you have something to like, that will like have something healthy to cope with. And I feel like the arts is the best place because like, alcohol and drugs aren't going to, cure that. Trust me, I know. If anything, that shit almost killed me 2 months ago. And then I get macaroni. Yeah, I end up like catching like having both of those situations happen to me, and I'm like, well, I I I don't have anything to be fearful of anymore because I literally look death straight in his face. I'm like, no, I don't want to go. I just keep living. If anything, I'm just scared of like not living what my purpose is before I head out of here because it's just like, bro, like, this world is fun to a degree, but like, yeah, this, I'm not trying to like make my wholeness of my soul, be found like be like based on this earthly plane, bro. Feels like we have a better place to ascend to at some point. But until that, and that's not to ever say like, embrace, death or like, strive for that. Like we don't need that either. Because like I saw that through the SoundCloud wave, and as much as I like that culture, like I knew something bad was gonna happen. But like it's just like, bro, don't overtly embrace the negativities of like death culture. I think that's not a good thing either. But it's just like, you know, with music, art of any sort, use that to express yourself in a way that, makes you feel that you have some type of completeness. Because it's gonna help you, and it'll also inspire and help others. And that's like why I want to. And this is what I was already gonna say before I got on here, because like I had these going through my head like for almost like most of my life, but definitely a lot through the past few months, because it's just like, dude, it's just like I had to get this off my chest, because like, dude, like life can be very beautiful if you allow it to be. Yes, it's ugly, it's hard, it's not fair at all. I'm not saying that, but if you are able to be resilient enough and like fight through it, or like at least be around an environment or have people that can help you, like, you guys, like, navigate through this stuff, like it's gonna be worth it. And that's like why I like sharing, stories. Like I wanted to be more personal and share these stories of my music loves with you guys, to show you exactly like, this is what kept me going for most of my life. Like, yeah, like life hasn't been that great for me like all the time. I felt very lonely. I felt like, what's the point? But it's just like at the end of the day, it's just like if it wasn't for these guys making me obsessed with music, it's just like, bro, it's like I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably just be sad and like just lonely, not really having a direction in life. But all I know is like I like art, I like music, I like performing, I like, showcasing it in whatever way possible. And it's just like, dude, it's like this is what I feel like doing, and I just want to continue to do it. So with that, where am I at? I'm almost at an hour. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it off here. I just had a need to like just talk with you, talk with my subscribers, be more interpersonal with you guys. I'm just a regular dude, regular 27-year-old in his room who makes YouTube videos from time to time, sometimes in bulks. And I'll try to be more consistent. And honestly, this video is a way for me to like kind of get out everything I feel like I wanted to say in other videos. But like, it's just like when I'm keeping myself so strict within like boundaries of like just talking about one album after one album after one album, then full concert of a video. It's just like, it's fun, but it's just like, it does feel like a job. So I feel like this is a way to like kind of connect closer to you guys, and just also just show that, like, I'm not trying to be like a overt famous YouTuber. Like, I don't, you guys don't even have to like care overtly about anything that I'm saying, or even in my other videos. Like, some of you might just like my music videos, some of you might just like specifically my neo folk videos, some of you might like only my concert videos. I probably have a different wide range of audiences, which I purposely wanted, because like that's how I am. I like different things, and I'm able to connect with different people. And so this is me just trying to solidify all that, just show you like, yeah, I am just a nerd. I am a nerdy nerd. That's all I am. I'm obsessive about stuff. Oh yeah, before I get off here, let me gloat about myself a little bit and show you some of my artwork. So yeah, I like art. This is some things that I made. Pen and inking is my favorite. I made this over I filled this notebook up. It's not a complete notebook, but I filled it up over the course of 2019 before the Roni started. But yeah, one of my favorite artists is Robert Crumb. That's where I get my style from. I like a lot of different types of art. My favorite art period is the Renaissance. Yeah. I had just moved to Georgia around this time period. Had to reconnect myself with a different identity, because I really did not do well in life around 2018 and had to come back home. So yeah, these are just a bunch of random drawings I was just making just to kind of just find a different direction. I don't know what any of this shit means sometimes. It's just fun to make. Definitely inspired by Adventure Time. Like some weird J character or something, but yeah. Yeah, this is my favorite. I'll just leave it off on here. But yeah, God Star. Yeah, I call this one God Star. If anyone knows what Psychic TV is, Genesis Peoria. Hello. Yeah. Before I end this video, one thing to always tell you guys about when I make these videos is that, like, for whatever reason, QuickTime Player always cuts it off at random points. It pauses or crashes. Sometimes it'll literally be like 10 minutes in the video, or maybe an hour later, and I was just about to end it because I was just thinking like, oh cool, I'm about to end this, and it didn't pause. And then right as I was showing you that picture, it ended. It put in pause. So I always have to like make another video just to like add on like the little extra part of me like saying goodbye, and it's just like 1 minute, and this is literally what it's gonna be. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to my bantering and talking, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, hopefully. If not, sorry. But yeah, I'll try to be a little bit more consistent. I'll try with making videos, and honestly I feel like, just having, I'll still do album reviews, but for the most part I think I'm gonna just do something that's similar to my other video, like my top 5 current 93 current 93 songs, and just kind of give you a list of stuff that I like on the music scale, because I have so much to talk about, but like diving into just like one specific thing time after time is starting to get like very taxing, and it doesn't add a lot of fluidity to like my video making. I feel like this was more releasing for me to do, just to like kind of banter on about just how I got into music and like why I love music. And I feel like more of these looser subject matter videos are probably going to be more consistent as of late. Again, I'm still going to be doing a lot of like underground performances in Atlanta, so check out for those. A lot of iDrum performances. Kirkwood Ballers Club has been around since the 90s. Just got connected with people there, so I am also planning to do another performance under CK Pitts like coming July 22nd. So prepare for that. I'll have videos for all the performances there, or at least the performances like I want to put on the channel. And yeah, I'm like, this channel's not going anywhere. I will pretty much continue with this channel until my dying days, if possible. And it's, this is just me just trying to catalog the things I've enjoyed in life, and just pretty much just documenting life. This is Trey Bell signing out.